You're listening to The Resilient Animal. I'm Annie Petersen, Doctor of Education with a Master's in Mental Health Recovery and Trauma-Informed Care. This podcast is an exploration of how helping other living beings can benefit human mental health and well-being, and what makes us all resilient animals.
Thanksgiving in the United States is often associated with food. However, it's not just about the food on our tables, nor is it defined by a single tradition like eating turkey. In fact, I plan on enjoying a wonderful field roast with its very yummy vegan gravy, green beans, and cornbread stuffing. Regardless of one's meal choices, the true spirit of the holiday lies in gratitude, community, and honoring the relationships we share with each other, with the land, and all living beings. Whether we gather around traditional dishes or choose alternative foods, we can celebrate Thanksgiving in ways that reflect our values and show respect for all of our relations. When we reflect on the stories surrounding the first Thanksgiving gathering of 1621 between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag People, there's a profound story that often goes untold, one shaped by the wisdom of Chief Massasoit and the sacred relationship between the Wampanoag and the animal beings who shared their lands. Massasoit, whose name means great sachem, was the head diplomatic leader and spiritual guardian who understood the deep connection between his people and the natural world. Listen to the whispers of the wind, he would teach, for it carries the voices of our animal relatives who guide us in the ways of living. Through his leadership, he preserved and taught the ancient wisdom of the Wampanoag's relationship with animals, including the legend of Mashop, the benevolent giant who walked these lands. Like Mashop's deep friendship with the creatures of earth and sea, Massasoit taught his people to maintain harmony with their animal relatives. He would often say, when we honor the four-legged ones, the winged ones, and the swimmers, we honor our own sacred path. Just as Mashop would call to his whale relatives who carried messages across waters, and his faithful crow companions who brought news from distant shores, Massasoit guided his people in maintaining these sacred bonds. He taught that each animal encounter was a blessing, saying, "Our animal relatives come as teachers, bringing messages from the Creator." The spiritual connection between the Wampanoag and their animal relatives, carefully preserved and taught by Massasoit, shaped not just the historic gathering, but the entire way of life, beliefs, and daily practices of the Wampanoag people. In Wampanoag's spiritual tradition, passed down through generations and emphasized in Massasoit's teachings, animals were viewed as elder siblings of humanity, created before humans by Kithian, the Creator. Massasoit often shared the wisdom: the animals walked this earth long before us, and their wisdom flows through the land like rivers through time. He taught that each sunrise brought new lessons from our animal relatives, saying, "Watch how the deer greets the morning sun with alertness and grace. This is how we too should begin each day." Under his guidance, the Wampanoag understood that each animal nation possessed unique wisdom, spiritual teachings, and sacred medicine to share with the human community. Following Massasoit's example, bears were honored as wise healers and spiritual guides, teaching lessons of strength, introspection, and the healing powers of plants. The bear, he would say, teaches us to look within for strength and to recognize the medicine in every plant that grows. Wolves were respected as family teachers, demonstrating the sacred bonds of community, the importance of caring for each other, and the power of collective wisdom. Values that Massasoit himself embodied in his leadership. He shared the teaching, like the wolf pack, we are strongest when we care for our weakest members. Eagles were revered as sacred messengers, carrying prayers to the Creator and bringing back spiritual guidance. Massasoit taught that when an eagle appeared overhead, it was time to pause and listen for messages from the spirit world. The ancient legend tells of how Crow became the messenger between worlds. When Masha needed to send important messages to the spirit realm, Crow's wisdom and ability to travel between worlds made them the perfect messenger. Crow teaches us, Massasoit would say, that wisdom often comes in the darkest feathers. Massasoit ensured the continuation of ceremonies honoring these animal relatives, such as the morning greeting ceremony, where gratitude was expressed to all beings at sunrise. During the green corn ceremony, he led special songs to acknowledge the animal nation's guidance and protection throughout the year. Under his leadership, daily practices included leaving tobacco offerings for animal encounters, singing songs of gratitude, and sharing stories that taught younger generations about respecting and learning from their animal relatives. He established the tradition of the 7 animal teachings, where each season brought focus to different animal wisdom. The patience of the turtle, the community of the beaver, the courage of the bear, the loyalty of the wolf, the vision of the eagle, the wisdom of the owl, and the adaptability of the deer. Deer held an especially sacred place in Wampanoag spiritual life and were present during the first Thanksgiving gathering, where Massasoit taught the pilgrims about their significance. These gentle beings were seen as teachers of grace, awareness, and sensitivity, qualities that Massasoit himself demonstrated in his diplomatic relations. The Deer Nation shows us how to move through life with gentle strength, Massasoit would often say. Their footsteps teach us to walk softly on Mother Earth. According to ancient stories, even mighty Mashop learned the virtue of patience from watching the deer move silently through the forest, teaching him that true strength lies in gentleness, a lesson Massasoit often shared with his people. The Wampanoag, guided by their chief's wisdom, believed that deer could guide humans in developing spiritual alertness and maintaining harmony with the natural world. Massasoit taught that when deer appeared in dreams, they brought messages of healing and peace. He preserved special ceremonies to honor the deer, including the sacred deer dance performed during the autumn harvest, where dancers would embody the spirit of deer to express gratitude for their teachings. Watch how deer move as one through the forest, he would teach. They show us how to live in perfect balance with our relations. Young people were taught to observe deer's behaviors as lessons in mindfulness and peaceful living, principles that Massasoit emphasized in his leadership. The appearance of a deer was considered a spiritual blessing, often interpreted as a message from the ancestors or a sign of needed guidance. Similarly, wild turkeys were respected as teachers of community awareness and protective vigilance. Massasoit shared the ancient teaching that turkeys were given special wisdom by the Creator to protect their communities. Stories tell of how Mashab observed how turkeys cared for their young and protected their groups, teaching the people about community and responsibility, values that Massasoit exemplified in his care for both his people and their pilgrim neighbors. Like the turkey who never abandons its young, he would say, we must always care for one another. Their presence in Wampanoag territories was seen as a reminder to stay alert and watch over one another. Turkey feathers were sacred items used in prayer fans and ceremonial dress, carrying prayers and intentions during spiritual gatherings, including those led by Massasoit himself. The beings of the water held deep spiritual significance in Wampanoag culture, a connection that Chief Massasoit often emphasized in his teachings. The ocean is our eldest grandmother, he would say, and her children, the whales, fish, and all sea creatures, carry her ancient wisdom. Under his leadership, the story of Mashab's friendship with the whales was shared as a reminder of the sacred bonds between people and marine life. Massasoit taught that these magnificent beings would come when called, carrying messages across the great waters and sharing ancient wisdoms through their songs. He passed down the teaching that each whale song contained stories from the beginning of time. He led his people in understanding whales as wise elders of the ocean, carrying ancient knowledge in their songs. Following Massasoit's guidance, the Wampanoag would gather by the shore to listen to whale songs, believing they contained messages from the spirit world. As our elders say, the voice of the whale carries the memories of the ocean itself. Massasoit taught that fish were teachers of persistence and adaptation, sharing the ancient story of how the Creator gave fish the wisdom to navigate both shallow waters and ocean depths, teaching humans to be adaptable in all situations. He taught that dolphins and seals were considered bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds, carrying dreams between the realms. When seal appears, he would say, it brings messages from our ancestors beneath the waves. He established regular ceremonies at the shoreline to honor these marine relatives and maintain spiritual harmony with the ocean community. Under his leadership, shells gathered from the beach were crafted into sacred objects that carried spiritual stories and teachings. These precious beads were used in ceremonies to represent the eternal connection between the Wampanoag and their animal relatives. Chief Massasoit established sacred protocols that guided the Wampanoag's relationship with animals, drawing from generations of wisdom. His teachings emphasized when an animal crosses your path, it carries a message meant just for you. Listen with your heart, and the teaching will be clear. He taught that each animal encounter was a sacred moment of learning. Say, our animal relatives are our first teachers, showing us how to live in harmony with Mother Earth. Under his guidance, each morning began with prayers of gratitude to the animal nations for their continued presence and teachings. He showed how to carefully observe animal behaviors and movements as signs from the spirit world, teaching that every bird's flight pattern, every fox's trip, every beaver's lodge contained sacred messages for those who learn to see with their spirit eyes. Through his leadership, the people understood that each animal encounter was a gift and an opportunity for learning. When bear shows itself, he would teach, it brings medicine for body and spirit. When wolf appears, it teaches us about family bonds. Massasoit ensured this knowledge was preserved through oral traditions, with elders sharing stories that taught about the sacred character and spiritual significance of each animal nation. He established practices where young people learned to recognize animal messages and signs, developing a deep spiritual awareness of their animal relatives. To understand the language of our animal relatives, he would say, is to understand the heart of creation itself. During the first Thanksgiving gathering, Chief Massasoit's diplomatic wisdom shone through as he facilitated understanding between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag's deep spiritual bond with animal nations. Through his leadership, this historic meeting became an opportunity to demonstrate living in spiritual harmony with the natural world. Massasoit shared ancient teaching about how the deer's gentle presence reminded us to move through life with grace and purpose, and how the wild turkey's vigilant care of its young exemplified the sacred duty of protecting one's community. He taught that even the smallest creatures, like the industrious squirrels preparing for winter, carried profound lessons about planning and reciprocity. During the gathering, Massasoit shared the sacred story of the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, Massasoit explained. Showed how all beings, from the smallest birds to the greatest whales, were connected in a sacred circle of giving and receiving. Under Massasoit's guidance, the Wampanoag demonstrated the spirit of reverence and interconnection through ceremonies and prayers during the Thanksgiving gathering, teaching the pilgrims how each animal being was honored as a sacred teacher and spiritual guide. He showed how the morning greeting ceremony acknowledged each animal's gifts and how the evening prayer thanked the four-legged ones for their daily teachings. Through his example, the gathering became a powerful expression of gratitude to the animal nations who helped maintain balance and harmony in their territories. Today, the Wampanoag people continue to honor their sacred relationship with the animal nations through ceremony, story, and daily practice, carrying forward the wisdom of Chief Massasoit's teachings. His legacy lives on in their traditional understanding of animals as spiritual teachers, guides, and family members, offering profound wisdom for our modern world. The people still practice this teaching that each animal carries medicine for the heart that knows how to listen, and honor his instruction to begin each day by acknowledging our animal relatives. These teachings, passed down through generations since Massasoit's time, remind us that animals are not merely resources, but sacred beings worthy of our deepest respect and gratitude. His wisdom that the tracks of our animal relatives lead us to our own true path continues to guide the people's footsteps. The story of the first Thanksgiving, shaped by Massasoit's leadership and diplomatic wisdom, reveals the importance of maintaining harmonious relationships with our animal relatives and recognizing their roles as teachers of wisdom, carriers of medicine, and bridges to the spirit world. His teaching that when the eagle soars above, our prayers rise with its wings remains a cornerstone of Wampanoag spiritual practice. As Massasoit taught his people, when we honor the ways of our animal relatives, we honor the wisdom of creation itself. The deer's gentleness, the wolf's loyalty, the bear's strength. These are mirrors of our own sacred nature. May we walk gently upon Mother Earth, listening to the teachings of all our relations, and may our hearts remain as open as the morning sky. Thank you for listening to The Resilient Animal. If you would like more information about this podcast or about some alternative food options for your Thanksgiving meal, please visit our website at theresilientanimal.buzzsprout.com.